are washed and made clean. Habits, sisters and brothers, only happen through the process of discipline. Only when we are willing to allow ourselves to be taught and to be led and formed in a pattern of living, does that pattern of living become a habit and a way in which we live our lives. But if no one offers that to us, if no one teaches us that structure, if no one gives us those guidelines and parameters in our lives, then we don't know what to do as we grow older. I know parents, sometimes in these days, it is very, very hard to keep the attention and direction of our young folks because there's so many other things going on out there. You can barely have a conversation with a person, I'd say 25 or younger, without them texting while you're trying to talk to them.
Right.
We can barely have a conversation where we look at one another and actually talk face to face in the same room. It is about how we are patterned in our lives. When was the last time that we all sat down as families at the dinner table and had real dishes, not styrofoam? That we ate something that didn't come with its own plasticware all wrapped up in its own sanitary containers. That we used real silverware. That we actually had to talk to each other and say, would you please pass the butter? When was the last time that we had that kind of discipline in our lives to make the commitment as families to sit down at a table together? Discipline. And I know that's hard, but you know what? Sometimes our bosses need to be disciplined too. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to do that because you need to keep your jobs. But you know, even I as a pastor am very often told what I need to be doing and how I ought to do it. And I have to say, there's sometimes I bristle a little bit with that. But those are the times that I'm reminded about what I need to be focused on. Because there can be so many things that distract us, whether it's in our jobs, in our families, or in our relationships. You can't spend 65 years together as husband and wife and not be disciplined. To be disciplined, that your focus is going to be on each other. Because I'm sure over those 65 years, both as a lovely lady, as a handsome man, there were lots of other distractions that could have come across your path. Right. Let's just keep it real, church. Right? You kept a discipline and a promise to each other. Even for us as people of faith. You and I every day have to commit ourselves to this life that we've embraced called Christianity. It is not easy to be a Christian. It takes discipline. It means learning how to keep our mouths shut sometimes when we want to just run off all day with it. The discipline of Christianity means that we need to be humble enough so that we can turn to someone when we know we've wronged them and ask for forgiveness. It's not easy to be a Christian. It is not easy for us to admit that we're wrong. It is not easy for us to admit that we need help. It's easy for us to stand up and say, I'm saved, and I'm so glad I'm saved. But it's hard for us to stand up and say, I am still a sinner in need of redemption. It is not easy. It is not easy to take seriously the words of the Scriptures today. Because we like to think that by going to church on Sunday, that by saying our prayers, and that by doing our schoolwork, and by doing all those things that we're supposed to do, that we got it set. that when that day comes, we're going to go knock on heaven's door, just like in the story today, and we're going to say, oh Lord, it's me, let me in. And the Lord is going to say, who? It's me, who? Me, Bob. Well, I don't know if I know you. Well, yeah, I'm the one who was in church every Sunday. I'm the one who said all these good and holy things to folks every Sunday, I'm the one. No, I don't recognize you. I don't recognize you because the list that I have to look at here is not so much of what you did in church on Sunday, it's what you did outside of church during the week. Did you go visit that person down at the jail? Did you talk to your neighbor who gets on your last nerve? Did you stay in touch with your family after your cousin died and there was this whole huge mess because of what everybody thought was a lot of money and there wasn't nothing but a hill of beans? That's where it's hard to be a Christian, church. It's easy to do it in here. We've got our voices to support one another. If we don't know all the prayers, we rely on our neighbor next to us to help us through that line until we get to the part we do know. It's easy to do it in here. But when we're out there on our own, and we've got to stand up for what is right, we've got to stand up for what is just. We have to put ourselves in position sometimes against our friends because we're standing up for someone in our class or in our school who is the victim of bullying and all kinds of mess. And when we have to stand up for the person at work that no one else seems to like, but we know they're being treated unjustly, when we have to do those things, sisters and brothers, that's when it's hard to be a Christian. Because no one is going to reward us for that. We will be ridiculed. We will be separated from those who we thought were our friends. And we will be ostracized. You notice when you do something good like that, folks stop talking around you. Their whole attitude changes around you. All the gossip that you used to be included in, now they don't talk about it around you. They talk about you. Let them. Because we shouldn't have been involved in that conversation to begin with. They're doing us a favor. They're making our Christian call a little bit easier to live out. So when you go to work and nobody's talking, you just say, fine. Don't include me. I don't need that mess in my life. And when you go to school, and your friends aren't talking to you because of what you're wearing or what you're not wearing or what kind of phone you have or you don't have, leave them alone. They won't distract you from the other work that you have to do. Sisters and brothers, today, as we gather and pray, yes, it's back to school Sunday, and yes, a very mixed day for everybody, but it is a day in which we're seriously asked to consider our call to listen and to respond to the discipline of our God. It isn't easy to be a Christian. It isn't easy to forgive and to ask for forgiveness. It isn't easy to speak to the one who isn't popular. It isn't easy to treat one another with dignity and respect when we feel that we've been wronged. It isn't easy to stay a part of a church when we believe that the bishop hasn't listened to us. It isn't easy to stay in communion with the body of Christ in the Catholic faith when we feel that we've been ostracized and our concerns aren't responded to. It isn't easy to be here today and to not pass judgment on our sisters and brothers in the community of St. Peter. It isn't easy for us to stay focused on what we need to be about. It's so much easier to talk about everybody else. But today, as we gather,